Hey guys, welcome to Dubbzi Bricks, and it's Q&A time. So it was 10 months ago that I last did a Q&A video, and I can't believe it was that long ago. How time flies when you're in the Lego room. And I thought it was about time that I did another one. So I put a post out about a week or two ago asking if there were any questions that you guys wanted answering. So we had a fair few questions come in, so thank you very much. There was also 3 questions from the previous video that I had to answer that were left in the comments. So I'll start off with those, and then we'll go on to the other questions. So the first question is from UFO Bricks. Would you ever consider having someone else's mocks in your city, for example, vehicles, or will it all be your builds? Thanks, keep up the amazing content. Thank you, UFO Bricks. Thank you, UFO Bricks. It's not something I've really thought about in the past, but I would like the city to have all my own creations in there. So I'm trying to avoid like using Lego sets, for example. Even with Arkham, with the transport I've used in there, I've modified the Lego set, so it does still to me feel a little bit too much like the Lego set. But I would like to create everything myself that's in the city. But in the next breath, I think it'd also be quite cool to give people the opportunity to have their vehicle showcased in the city. So I may possibly run a competition at some stage to enable people to have the chance of having their vehicle in there. So yeah, watch this space. And the next question comes from Guy Franklin 4143. Hey Dubbzi, really love your channel. Your outstanding build and informative videos are truly world class. Thank you very much. Question, what do you consider to be the most prized minifigure in your collection, and are there any exclusive growl items, either sets or minifigs, that you are desperate to add to your collection? And there was also another question from iFishX. What is your favourite minifigure? So it depends which way we're looking at this. If it's what is my most prized minifigure in regards to my most expensive minifigure, then that would be Harley Quinn from Welcome to Apocalypseburg. I think that's going between, or sold recently for between 265 and 280 euro, which is insanity. Other minifigures I love are like the Range Trooper from the Imperial Conveyance from the Solo movie. I think that's such a cool looking figure. But another figure I love is Darth Malgus from the Sith Fury class Infiltrator. It's one, again, it's another one that I've got in my backlog, which I've yet to make and get out of display, but I think that's another really cool looking minifigure. In regards to what my favourite minifigure is, I don't actually own it, and that's Darth Revan. I would absolutely love to own that minifigure. When I first moved to Ireland, you could readily pick it up on eBay for £60, and I didn't do it. I thought it was too expensive for a minifigure, and now I look back, I think it's a bargain. I would pick it up in a heartbeat. So I wish I could go back in time and do that. So that is the one that I would love to own more than all others. In regards to Lego sets, that would probably be the Imperial Shuttle UCS. Again, it's a Lego set that it came out, I wasn't really buying Lego back then, and I just think it's such an amazing looking set. But if they were to re-release it, I would be more than happy with a more up-to-date version of it. It's just one of those vehicles in Star Wars which I absolutely love, so would love to have that in the collection. Next question comes from Coconut Brick Studios. Do you prefer initially design and build digitally or physically, and why? Thanks, Ethan. I prefer building things physically as opposed to digitally on Studio. And I think the reason for it is with Studio, sometimes you don't know whether or not it's actually going to take the strain, whether it's going to be strong enough. And that's one of my apprehensions with it. And also, I do sometimes struggle with Studio if you've got a part which it needs to bend, whether it's like a flex tube or getting the hinges to work exactly how it needs to be. So yeah, I do prefer physical building from that point of view. Digital building is, if you can use the program properly, I think it's fantastic, and because you don't have wastage of parts. The amount of times I have thought of a design which I think this is going to work, I order the parts in, go to build it, and think actually I'm not happy with that. Then I've got a surplus of parts which I'm not using at that moment in time. I mean, it's nice to have them in the collection, but yeah, I could have probably saved a lot of money on Lego pieces had I gone down the digital route, especially like with the Tantive, with the part around the boarding section of the Tantive. I ordered in all these hinge pieces to make the circle. The circle looks really good, but it's now tiling it and getting the gaps so they're not there is proving to be really, really difficult. And I think studio in that instance would have probably been the better way forward. So now we're on to the newer questions, and the first question is from Mr. Waddle Kirby. How in the world can you afford all this Lego? This is a question that comes up so often, and it's from Lego investing mainly. I used to do a lot of overtime in one of my previous jobs, and whenever I had spare cash, I used to buy Lego sets, basically stick them away, and then I'm selling them now. So if they were ever on a sale on a good price and I thought that they were going to do well in the future, then I used to buy them. So yeah, that's how I started with the YouTube channel. Started selling the sets, buying more and more bricks. But now I've got the revenue coming in from YouTube as well, so I'm investing every penny of that back into the channel. It's like with the Tantive, each month a couple €100 is going into that build minimum, and fortunately that is coming from the YouTube. So it's, yeah, I can't thank you guys enough for watching the videos, because obviously that is helping to realise this dream of building Lego like we are at the moment. Next question comes from Photogenic Dog. Hello, what was your first Lego set and which set mock really got you into the hobby? So the first Lego set that I can remember is probably a little space buggy set 886, I think it is. And that's, I mean, there was loads of little sets I had as a kid. I remember sort of like, for me as a child, it was always building from loads of pieces. So it wasn't the actual Lego sets. I had loads of loose pieces, and I used to make my own vehicles up and spaceships up and things like that. But that's one set that does stick in the memory more than others. If we're talking about which mock or build got me into mock building myself and maybe want to start a YouTube channel, I'd have to say it was probably... It started off with the Brick Whiz when he was doing his Anaxis mock. That I loved every episode of that. I thought was really good and loved how he was going about it. And off of the back of that, I then come across Coconut Brick Studio, and he was doing his Utapau mock. And Ethan did such an amazing job with that. And I think it's possibly actually the Utapau mock that made me want to have a go at actually building Utapau myself. And it is one of those mocks that is on my to-do list one day that I'd actually love to create Utapau. So next question comes from the Lost Phantom 8. Hi Dubbzi, love your videos. I was wondering what inspired you specifically to build the Tantive and also in such a scale. Thank you very much. So first of all, I'm going to keep calling it Tantive. I know it's Tantive, but I've always called it the Tantive when I was a kid, and it's just force of habit. So apologies to those people that don't like me calling it, but yeah. So anyway, the Tantive. I've always wanted to make it. It's such an iconic ship. It's the first ship we ever see in Star Wars. And when they brought out the corridor set, that was the final bit of persuasion I needed to make it. And it was the corridor that actually dictated the size of the build. So when I first started thinking about making it, I thought, we'll make this 2 meters long. That seemed like a good size. I thought that'd be an ideal size to have in the Lego room on display, because that's what I always wanted to do, was have it on a shelf somewhere or on a unit somewhere as a display piece in the background. However, after I built the corridor section where Vader and the Stormtroopers board it, that then dictated how big the vessel was going to be. So I had the blueprint, I measured it, and then it ended up being over 3 meters long. So yeah, the corridor set was the reason I made it and also dictated the size. And the next question comes from David Fisher 5507. When did you first get into Lego? Was it a childhood thing that you returned to, or did you come into it as an adult? I played with Lego as a kid and I loved every second. As far back as I can remember, I was playing with Lego. And then obviously back in '99 when Star Wars Lego came out, I then purchased a couple of sets then, which I regrettably sold. And then it was a few years later, further down the line, that I started to really get back into it. I mean, I've only been mock building since I've started the channel, or mock building as other classes since I started the channel. Obviously, I did all that building as a child, but nothing like I'm doing now. So I have retaken up a childhood hobby and loving every second of it. And the next question comes from iFishX. Can you draw out a new Lego piece that you'd want for mock building? The piece that I would have is, I have seen it in an alternate brand. When I was sent a set from Dubbzi Bricks, the helicopter, there's a piece in there and it's a plate that's got studs on both sides. And for me, that would be an absolute game changer. I am currently struggling with parts of the Tantive, and if I just had a plate that had studs on both sides, it would make life so much easier. So hopefully one day a designer within Lego will think, actually, do you know what, this is a good idea, why don't we create that bit? Because yeah, I know there are numerous ways you can get around it, but to have just a single piece where you can build off of it, a bit like a snot brick, it would be brilliant. Yeah, so fingers crossed one day Lego will produce that piece. And the next question isn't actually a question, it's just a comment from Tyrone saying, Dubbzi, you rock. Thanks, T. I think the same with you, buddy. Next question, how did you get this proficient with building with Lego? I can't imagine having the creative ability to do things you do with the limitations of building with Lego. Thank you, Wicked Gravity 9164. I've always been very creative, and it's one of these things I've just learned from experience, I suppose. I do think that if I built more Lego sets, then I could be a better builder. I think you learn so much from Lego sets, different techniques, you get different ideas from them. So yeah, it's a bit like with woodworking. I've built the Lego table behind me, I've built sheds, I've converted this garage into a Lego studio, and I've never had any woodworking classes or lessons or anything like that. It's just a practical thing that I've just picked up over time, I suppose. But I think I get it from my father. He was fantastic at creating things as well. So yeah, I'll give him all the credit for my creativeness. And the next question comes from Craig1. Hey Dubbzi, do you collect any official sets? If so, what is your favourite theme, and will we ever get an updated collection tour? Yes, I do collect official Lego sets, and it's mainly Star Wars that's in my collection. I will do a tour one day. Once I've got Gotham finished and the Tantive finished, I've got big plans for the Lego studio, and it is going to involve showcasing a lot more of my Lego sets. I've got so many awesome sets in the backlog that need to be made, and I just want to crack those boxes open and build them and then have them on display. But I want to get some decent display cases to put them in so I don't have that dreaded dust getting all over them. So yeah, you will see that in the future. Another theme I do love as well is Ninjago. I've got a few Ninjago sets, and I think they're just such great fun to make. So yeah, that's the other theme that I would say that I collect. And the next question comes from the Outer Rim Mox. Hello Dubbzi, love your videos, and what is the piece that you have found most useful whilst building the Tantive, and when will there be more progress on the Onyx Cinder? So first of all, the Onyx Cinder, that one I haven't built for 9 months now, and it's criminal. And the reason for it is I got stuck on the engine mounts, and it caused such headache, and I didn't want to be putting out videos where there wasn't sufficient progress to warrant a video. And it was something that I thought I'm going to take a step back from this, and then other things have just happened and I haven't got back to it. The Tantive was initially a passion project, and I was only doing one update a month on the Tantive, but the Tantive build series got so popular and I was getting so into building it, I've now gone over to weekly builds. So the building time that I've got available has now, for doing things like the Onyx, has just vanished. And that's why there hasn't been any updates on there. I promise you guys that I will be picking up the Onyx Cinder again in the future. The state of the Onyx Cinder is pretty much destroyed, the work that I've done on it before. The engines are pretty much the only thing that is still standing. Reason being is the Technic pieces, I needed them for the Tantive, so I've just borrowed them off of it. So yeah, that's the Onyx will return, I promise. And I would say at the absolute latest it will be in October, and I know that's a long way, but the Tantive I intend on getting finished by the end of September for the convention. So yeah, October time we'll say for the Onyx, worst case scenario. Which piece have I found most useful on the Tantive has got to be the ball joint. Without that part, the Tantive would not be happening, because the obscure shape of the Tantive, trying to get all of the angles in there is just so difficult. And yeah, they have been an absolute lifesaver. And the next question comes from SW057. Where do you get the money, time and energy to work on huge projects like this? The money one we've already covered. I'm doing YouTube full time basically. So I spend pretty much 6 or 7 days a week in the Lego room, and that's how I'm able to get all of the building done that I do. And the only reason I'm able to do that is my wife and I decided we made a conscious decision 3 years ago that I was going to have a go at doing YouTube full time. I used to have a share in, me and a friend used to own our own business, and I sold my half of my business to him, and we moved to Ireland. So we haven't got a mortgage out here. We're very fortunate in that sense. So my wife has been fantastically supportive. She's been the breadwinner in the family. So I've been investing all of my time into trying to make a living out of YouTube. And this year we're finally starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel. So the money that we're actually having coming from YouTube now is starting to think, actually, this dream could be realised. It's been 3 years of a lot of hard work of trying to get everything done. I mean, some days I'm out here at 5 a.m. and I don't go in the house till 9 o'clock at night. I mean, I would have earned so much more money just working in a shop, but I would never have got as much enjoyment out of it. And that's the main thing for me, is the building is so much fun. Making the videos is so much fun. And, you know, you only live once. And I'm very fortunate. I'm attempting to live the dream of building Lego for a living, and hopefully the channel will continue to grow, and I'll be able to sort of like start supporting my wife to repay the favour in the future. In regards to the energy side of it, it's really weird because it's something that we all love doing, putting the bricks together. I don't ever have trouble with motivating myself to come out to the Lego room. Even if things are frustrating me with a build like the Tantive, if there are hard parts to it, I still don't think, oh, I've got to go out into the Lego room and carry on building that. It's just, yeah, the motivation is always there. So the energy levels are really there. I just can't get enough of it. So yeah, it's great. So the next question is from Robot Eva. Do you have plans for other large scale builds after your current projects are finished, or will you focus on smaller ones next? And Mixer Bricks has asked, amazing, it was a year ago. Okay, I have 2 questions. How do you intend to move the huge Tantive around to shows? And can you give us a hint of what you might like to tackle in the future large scale mock? I do hope it's Star Wars related. Thank you both for the questions. I thought I'd group those 2 together. So going forward, I already know roughly what I'm going to be building after these 2 projects are finished. I'm not going to tell you what they are, other than they are Star Wars. The Tantive I'm aiming to finish by the end of September, as it's going to a convention. If it's not finished by September, I will still be taking it to the convention, then I'll finish it afterwards, because I'm not going to rush finishing it just for the convention. But obviously Gotham's going to take that a little bit longer. But again, I think now that I've got the foundation sorted on that, I will be able to get that finished this year. And then what we plan on doing is revamping the Lego studio. So we get all the Lego displays on in the background. So what I would like to ideally do is start doing live streams, and I'll be building the Lego sets that are in my backlog on the live streams. I think it'd be great fun to just talk Star Wars Lego, building those sets. I follow a YouTuber, Dubbzi Bricks, and I love his live streams. He does the streams on a Wednesday and a Friday, I think it is. And then he does a gaming stream on a Monday. And I just love watching his channel. It's just so relaxing. And I think it'd be really cool to do something like that. Building the sets, talking Star Wars Lego with people. So I'll be doing that one day. I only want to do 1 large scale mock at a time going forward, as opposed to the 2 that I've been tending to do on the channel. The reason I've been doing 2 is because sometimes I'm waiting for parts to come in, and it's enabling me to carry on building whilst I wait for those parts to come in. However, after these 2 mocks are finished, I won't have that problem of having to wait for bricks, because I hope I'll have all the pieces I'm going to need for future projects going forward. But I would still like to do other videos alongside the large build series. I will start doing smaller build series, so there'll be a maximum, say 4 episodes, for example, a little bit like my IG88 build series. In regards to your question, Mike, about getting the Tantive to conventions, I honestly think it's going to be convention as opposed to conventions. I think it's probably going to be only shown at BrickCon in Dublin. I'm going to be building 4 crates for it to go in, a crate for each section, and it's going to take me 2 trips in the car to get it to the convention. And that's the reason that I think it's only going to be the 1 convention. It's going to cost me too much money to come over to the UK with the Tantive. I'm going to have to hire a van. I've got to catch the ferry over, then you've got your accommodation and everything else on top of that. And it's going to cost me the best part of €1,000, and I just can't justify spending that much on taking it to a convention, unfortunately. I know that might sound selfish, but yeah, when I think of what I could do with €1,000, sort of like the things I could build with that I would, and Lego sets I really want to add to my collection, and it's like Bricktastic's over in 2 days, and it's nothing more than I would love for people to see the Tantive. I really would love everybody to see it in person, but yeah, I just can't justify it, unfortunately. So yes, this BrickCon in September might be the one and only time that I take this to a convention. So if you do want to see it in person, get tickets for that convention. And the next question comes from Flat Derek. Do you think it's harder, more expensive to do what you do build-wise from Ireland than UK? Which country do you think it would be easiest in? That is a great question. I think it's probably easier in the UK from the sense that you have so many more Bricklink stores over there. We don't have a great deal here in Ireland, and that's one of the reasons that I rely heavily on Lego.com. I probably order 99% of the items I get from Lego.com. And people will very often say to me that, why do I do Lego.com? Why don't I use Bricklink? Because it's so much more expensive with Lego. And the reason is, if I can't get it from Ireland, I could get it from other European countries, as there's no import taxes because we are in the EU. However, the postage costs are really expensive. The amount of times that I've been onto another European shop and the postage for an order is a minimum of, say, €20. By the time you take that into account, all of a sudden it's cheaper to get it directly from Lego. And also by getting it from Lego, you've got your VIP points, you've got gift with purchases, I can get cash back, things like that. It does make it more cost effective for me. If I buy from the UK, I get it sent to a family member in the UK if I know that I'm going to the UK quite soon and get it that way. Otherwise, I've got import taxes. And if you start talking about getting from other countries elsewhere in the world, when you take into account the import taxes, postage, VAT, because very often countries have got different VAT levels, then on top of that, if there are import taxes or any other fees, the post office or whoever the couriers are, they then have an administration fee on top of that. It just gets ridiculous. So although pieces may appear, or very often are, more expensive on Lego.com, it does work out better for me personally to get them from there as opposed to off of Bricklink. And we've got 2 questions here from Brookery Do. And the first one is, how does it feel when you have to dismantle such large mocks as Tatooine or Mandalore, and when will Gotham be finished? Thanks, Klaus. Gotham, as mentioned earlier, will be finished hopefully this year. That is the aim. I would like to get it finished as close to finishing the Tantive as possible. There is a lot of work, as everybody can tell, looking at Gotham City. I've yet to start on all of the finer details. I want to put as much effort into it as possible. I don't want to just rush the finish on this. But yeah, I'm aiming for this year. How does it feel when I have to dismantle mocks? It's one of those things where it's a necessity more than anything. So I know I have to do it. And it doesn't bother me a great deal, if I'm being honest. I love creating things with Lego, and Lego is an expensive hobby. There's no getting away from that. And when you think of how much money or how much it costs to build something like Gotham City or the Tantive, I mean, Tantive has been insanely expensive. I can't afford to just leave that sitting on a shelf or leave it sitting on a table collecting dust when I could be reusing the bricks. And also there's the space issue as well. The Lego Studio, it's 7 meters by 4.5 meters. There's only so much you can fit in here. Gotham and the Tantive are taking up the whole of the Lego garage at the moment. So if I were not to destroy it, then I wouldn't be able to build anything else. So from that point of view, I would sooner be creating rather than hoarding previous builds. So it was sad taking Jabba's Palace apart, because that was my first large Lego build, and I was really proud of that one. Mandalore, I love Mandalore, although it wasn't a very popular build series. I was really pleased with the end result of it. The other problem I have as well is if I have got a mock that is just sitting there and it served its purpose, in other words, I've made the video for the channel and it's just sat on a shelf now. If I need a piece, I very often take it off of it. It's a little bit like my IG11 and speeder bike. Then that build, I thought, I'm going to keep that. It's going to be sitting on table. And today, I've actually stolen about a dozen bricks off of it. And I can always guarantee that I won't replace those bricks, and that will end up getting broken up as well. So, yeah, it is sad to see them go in some ways, but also, yeah, it's on to the next project. That's why I look at it. And the next question comes from Jacob Anthony 97. Has the Tantive project ended up being more challenging than you expected, or did you anticipate it being this tough? Fantastic work so far. Keep it up. Thank you very much. 1000% tougher than what I thought it was going to be. I knew that this was going to be the ultimate challenge, and I really wanted to push myself as a builder. I didn't want to just build mock base after mock base, location after location, and not really push myself, challenge myself to it. I want to become the best builder that I possibly can. And I looked at this and I thought, this is going to be ridiculously hard, especially the cockpit area. And it hasn't disappointed in that side of things. It has been ultra tough. This has probably been, I would say, about 50 times tougher than anything I've built in the past. And yeah, it's just insane. But I don't regret it. It has been a fantastic learning curve. And even when you have to destroy something and destroy months of work and go back to the drawing board and then start that section again, it's still worthwhile. And you've got an idea of where you've gone wrong, and it's going to put you in a better position for future build, future parts of the mock. So yeah, it certainly has been a tough one. And yeah, a lot harder than I was expecting, but yeah, great stuff. And the final question comes from Matthew Def 5045. Hello Dubbzi, what a name. After Star Wars and Batman, would you consider a Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones mock? Watching your videos from Brittany, not much Lego live over here. Thank you very much. First of all, the name Dubbzi, that's actually a nickname from school. My surname's Dubber, and Dubs was what I used to get called at school, Dubbzi. So yeah, it just seemed that seemed the appropriate name for my channel. Yes, I would consider doing a Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones mock. I always intended on doing a massive Lord of the Rings mock. In fact, I actually purchased 100 of the Yokai poly bags. I think it's 107 I actually had, and I was purchased them off of eBay, new sealed in bag, and whenever they were on there, I was buying them left, right and centre. On Bricklink in June, the cheapest one sold was €25 and the most expensive one was €40. And when I think about that's over triple what I paid for them. And again, it's one of those things where I think if I opened them, I've got like 700 quid's worth of poly bags there that I'm going to be opening for one mock, and I have no idea how well that video is going to perform. And it's like with my Mandalore mock, I spent so much time, money and effort into that build series, and it was a bit of a flop of a build series, if I'm being honest. It's never performed that well for whatever reason. So yeah, it's whether or not I would like to do a Lord of the Rings mock, but I think they would need to bring out battle packs and things like that again for me to go down that route. I would love to do a Game of Thrones mock. I love Game of Thrones. It's one of my favourite TV series of all time. I think it's fantastic. So I would love to do a Game of Thrones inspired build. So like the Dragon's Keep, for example, or whatever. I would do something that looks very, very similar to that. And one question that I've been asked a few times in videos, and I actually received messages somebody was concerned about, was what's going on with this finger and the black nail? And it's nothing to worry about. It was an accident whilst doing some DIY. A tool slipped, whacked the nail, and it bled under the nail, and it's just growing out now. Anyway, thank you very much for all those questions. It's been great fun answering them. Hope you enjoyed the answers. I will do another one of these videos in the future, so if you have any questions, pop it in the comments below. If you did enjoy the video, give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to the channel. If you know anybody you think would be interested in building the Tantive or Gotham City, if you could share the channel with them, it would be much appreciated. Anyway, thanks for popping by. Till next time, bye for now.